Hi, everybody.
Hey.
It's Christine and Tina, ladies of the Lanai. I'm Christine.
I'm Tina.
And we're out on my new Lanai. We will do a house tour at some point, but we do want to finish a few more things and then we'll do it. So,
And we have,
you were asking.
even though you can't see it, we do have the famous hummingbird picture. Just you can see a little bit.
Right there. Yeah.
Anyway.
So today we have with us a very special guest, but before we get started with what this show is about, we just want to remind you to like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the information, the content that Tina and I are bringing to you. And we really appreciate it. Get really excited when we see new subscribers. So thanks a lot. So today we have with us Aimee Occhetti, who is an estate planner. She has a few hats that she wears, but today we're going to talk about her estate planning thing because after all, when you do come to the villages or you live here already, it's so much fun picking a model, buying a house, furnishing your house, meeting new friends, finding new activities. You find a doctor and all that good stuff, maybe a golf cart, right? But then there's some things that are maybe a little more hard to do. And one of them is certainly estate planning. So would you just introduce yourself to us and tell us, your background and your expertise with regard to estate planning?
Okay. So I moved here to the villages about 9 years ago. I was kind of doing a start over because I moved here from Washington, D.C. And as we all know, it's difficult times there. So it was a good time for me to make a change in my life. My dad lived here and my stepmother. And basically, my dad had been saying to me when I was in my 40s in D.C., and he would say, why don't you move to the villages? And I'm like, I'm not moving with all those old people. And then you become an old person. And it's like,
before you know it.
And I never felt, so I bought here when I was 47. I'd never, And
for all the questions we're going to get that people say, how did you buy when you were 47?
Oh, because actually the law is that at least 20% can be under the age of 55.
Okay.
So it would have to be challenged as far as if somehow there were more than
there's 150,000 people. I don't think 20% are. But
village.
every time we do somebody under 55, we get a lot of questions.
How did you get here? But it's per village,
No.
right? No, it's
overall. Yeah,
the community.
The community. On the whole.
All right.
So but I just have to tell you, I never felt so young because if I played pickleball or whatever I would do, people would be like, "You're too young to live here," and I'm like, "Thank you so much." Nobody's saying that anymore, unfortunately. But so that's why I came here. My father was one reason. I did burn out of politics that I did for a very long time, for 23 years. And I started to do estate planning in DC and then wanted to expand here. So started a practice here, and that's what I've been doing since I've been here. Like she said, I wear a couple of different hats, but estate planning is my real true love. I really like doing it. I have an undergrad in psychology, and it kind of is the kind of bridges psychology and the law, whereas I'm not in a courtroom every day, and I'm not doing family law where no one wins.
Well, you have compassion and empathy for the people who are making these big decisions.
Exactly. People come in and they have to talk about very, very private things, so that really they have to connect with you in order to feel like, hey, you're gonna know everything. A lot of details about my life.
So you're an estate planning lawyer with a background in psychology. That's a great way to describe what you do. And so what exactly is estate planning, and what happens if you don't do it?
So I always start out my meetings with people and I say, my job is to ensure that your estate does not go through probate. And that, if you don't know what probate is a lengthy court process that basically says, this is where your things are going to go. It can take, sometimes I say 1 to 3 years. I'll do seminars and people go, 4 years, 5 years, and it's just horrifying to hear. So, it's really, and it's expensive. Lawyers make a lot of money off of probate. And the reason they do is because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's paperwork, and you're waiting for a judge to give some kind of response.
In a simplistic term, the way someone else has said it to me too was that either you can choose who and where your money's going to go, or the state can choose.
Which is a very obvious answer, right? So that is, and that's a great way to explain it. If you die without a will, that's intestate. That becomes even more of a problem. We can get into more of the details of estate documents, but a will, I usually say a will is a document that says, this is where I want my assets to go. Whereas a trust is like a business. And so it's like an LLC, and it says where you're going to go, but everything titled in the trust is titled in your business. And that's how it circumvents the probate process when you have a trust.
So if you have a trust, you totally circumvent the probate.
If you title everything correctly.
But if you had a revocable trust in your name, you can take the money out. You're the trustee. You take the money out. You put it in your account. You do whatever.
Right.
But and then when you pass away with a trust, your successor trustee or trustees, now control what's going on, and then it's how you stated in there who the beneficiaries were and how the rest of those funds go, right? It's however you want it to
but it's
you
your
basically
choice.
Yes, you're the captain of the document, so you can say you can say how you want everything to go. Right?
So clearly everybody can see that she has done estate planning because she knows a lot about it. So
I do need to put my house in the trust, though.
Oh, absolutely. And that's
I'll be calling you soon.
Thank you. But that's a very big, so let me just talk about
Why would somebody do that? Put their house in a trust?
Yeah, so there's three main things. I was just talking about the probate process. So it's lengthy, expensive, and like people can't sell their house. So if you have a will and you haven't titled or even a trust, and you haven't titled the house into either your trust, or we can talk about a ladybird deed a little bit more also, but you have to do a different titling than just having it in your own name. So real property, bank accounts, and any retirement assets that don't have beneficiaries on there go to probate. Those are the three main things that as we do estate planning that we actually want to talk about. And so real property, if you have a will and you own your house right now, if it's you as a single person, then you pass away, your house is going to probate.
Yeah. But also, just real quick, I was going to say bank accounts, I also have like a transfer on death, so that even if it's not in my document, those legal documents, that the bank has who it goes to directly after me. So that should bypass that, doesn't it?
Yes, and that's a good point. And basically, all estate planning is about your own situation. And what I do is I will talk through like what is your family? Who do you have kids? Do you get along with your kids? Do you, and do you have grandkids? Who do you want to inherit? Are there charities that are involved? So there's so many different things.
Have you remarried?
Yeah. There's lots of second and third marriages and divorces. So so it's always, it's situational. So I'm giving you like the overview, but it would be, and I'm saying that because when you ask about your bank account, it depends. There are differences. It won't go to probate if you have a paid on death or you've made somebody a beneficiary. But a lot of times people don't have a contingent beneficiary on there. And I can tell you, I see lots of probate where husband and wife have each other on there. One passes, the other passes not too long afterwards. They've been grieving for that period of time,
never changed.
And they forgot. Why is that going to come up? As and I tell people, you can sit here in a meeting with me for doing the estate planning, and you may like me a lot or not like me a lot, whatever it is. You probably aren't going to remember in a year that I said to go put a contingent beneficiary on there. So I try to simplify everything, and that's I think the most important thing, to simplify it for your successor trustee to be able to execute what you want.
And these things need to be simple because, after all, a lot of the people who might be wanting to do this now might be, we get older and we get forgetful, and sometimes things are harder to understand, and I think they need to be simple. So that's a great way to be able to do it, Amy. I really think so.
And it's not just 1 second. I just want to say, it's not just being forgetful. It's being like human and not,
it can be overwhelming too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's why you need someone to kind of help hold your hand or help you or guide you.
Especially when there is a death in the family involved. You've got enough to go. Your mind is
thinking
elsewhere.
Of other things.
Right, elsewhere, exactly. So say someone was interested in what you've been talking about. What is the best way to find an estate professional? And you're a lawyer, and they have to be a lawyer, but in any event, what's the best way to find one?
You can do a Google search, of course. I think we all know that when we go look up something, you don't want to see the bad reviews, right? I mean, it's very, so I think that's important too, to go online if you're not getting it from your neighbor. I will tell you, I get numerous clients from people at the pool
Oh,
when they
word of mouth.
I'll hear
WOM.
and when I first came here, I advertised a lot.
Word
but
of mouth
now
here
that's the way I
is-
go.
It's huge.
I do it, if you're looking for something with your lanai, with your lawn care, with your house,
Absolutely.
anything, I would
Yeah.
ask Christine, who do you use
You
for?
trust somebody who's done it more than an ad that you see, or even a Google review. Sometimes those could be, jilted one way or the
Right.
other.
That's true. Yeah.
I always say throw out the top and the bottom and go with
Yeah.
what the most of the middle is, because you never know what you're reading sometimes.
It's all about trust. It
Yeah.
really is. I mean, this is a big thing. It's like financial planning, that you are really trusting, and you need to trust the person that you're working with.
And that's how we found Amy, was through word of mouth from Nancy Stanfahar. So, yeah. So do all estate planners, can they advise on financial matters as well as legal matters?
So interestingly enough, in DC, that's the way we did it. We had firms that were financial, and the firm I was with, that's what we did. It was a financial planning and estate planning, because they really do go together, and taxes. So we had like three of those. But that was, in a big city, and here it's not done like that. We tried to go down that road. So I went through the schooling for CFP, so certified financial planner, and so I know a little bit about it, and it does go hand in hand. So it's kind of, it really is something that should be discussed. I get on the phone a lot of times with financial planners, like if you had with whomever you used and you wanted to ensure that, you've just done a trust and your assets are titled correctly, then I would get on the phone and talk to them. Sometimes people can't scan their own documents.
Right.
Then I'll get that over there. It's kind of making sure everything is titled correctly, which is what I was saying. That's so important. And there are lots of people who will look at me and say, "Oh, I understand," and then I'll get a call from somebody in the family where the person has passed away and they didn't actually title correctly. So it's so important to drive that home. Probate's it's not the worst thing, because if you personally die and you might think that you don't care about your estate, but it's really
You're
about
leaving a mess for somebody else
that's
to
what
clean
it's
up.
about. Exactly. That's 100% what it's about. You just don't want to do that unless,
I was going to say, my older brother has been named, because he's so trustworthy and he's a good person, but he's been named by several people as executor of their estates. But I know, because he's my brother too, but that he would do the right thing.
Yeah.
So when you're doing stuff like that, you always want to pick someone who will do the right thing for you.
That's
you know what I mean?
correct.
Or your family.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But you don't want to leave a giant mess for them to untangle. Okay, where's this and that and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody thinks like, oh, I've got selected to be executor or successor
It's a lot
trustee.
of work.
I always say you got the booby prize, because it is a lot of work to to do somebody's estate. But you do have to be trustworthy, organized, and really motivated to get this person's affairs in order. And it's tedious work, so it's not really like this is a lot of fun. And we serve as trustees, so I've been down that road a few times. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this all sounds very interesting, I'm sure, to all of our listeners, I would think. But normally, how are fees charged?
So they're mostly flat fees.
A flat fee.
Yeah. If
For
you
the
go-
whole package or per document?
Well, so if you do a whole package, it's usually
One
you're
fee.
getting more for
Right.
your money. So like if
You were doing
if
a
I did
trust
one,
and
if
a
I was
will
doing a
and a
power of
health-
attorney,
yeah.
just a power of attorney for medical and a power of attorney for financial, that might be a different cost than if you were just doing one document versus a whole package. And a package it has a lot in it. It's a trust. If it's a couple, it's a joint revocable trust, or 2 wills, 2 powers of attorney, 2 medical directives, certification of trust, a deed, and recording of the deed. So that's really a full package, and it's not for everybody. And I literally like to ask somebody, their questions, and what I really have to curtail it to that. But I personally try to make it affordable for everybody, because I really believe in what I do, and I think it's important to make sure that people don't have to go through the probate process. It's really, it can be very difficult for a lot of people.
So it's not by the hour; it's by the documents that person wants, basically.
Exactly.
Okay.
We call that flat fee.
Flat fee.
Flat fee.
We like flat fees because you know what you're going to
know what you're
get.
getting,
You're not
yeah.
going to. There's no add-ons. There's no surprises, and
You're not like, oh, it took me 20 hours to write this.
Yeah, but you-
document.
Yeah. But that's why it's good to have a pro,
300
because it's not going to take her 20 hours. So can you ballpark married couple wanting
Or a single or
Yeah.
range or how many
like
documents.
ballpark what it
It could
might
go
cost?
from here to here.
Yeah.
People vary in that. I would say a ballpark would be maybe a single person is about, and this is for everything. So this is a full package with a deed and recording of the deed with the county. So that would be around 1,800 for a single person, and then 2,600 for a couple. Like I said, and I think most people do it like this: is if you're doing one document, you're taking up this amount of a lawyer's time, right? And then if you're doing 4 documents, it's only this much longer.
I paid by the hour when I did mine in New York.
She's in New York.
Yeah.
Hey, look,
That
it was
sounds
much more expensive in
painful.
DC
Sure
also for when we did it in DC. It was
Sounds-
like 3 times the amount here. So.
Sounds painful. Okay. And how do you prepare to when you're going to go meet with someone? Say you've chosen someone, or like yourself or yourself, and what would you bring with you to that first meeting? Is there a list, or like how do you know what to bring?
So it's not a list, and for me, I do a lot of asking questions. If there's certain things that I need to physically see, then I ask people to bring it back at another time. But literally, you don't have to have, most people know what their assets are, how much they are. Some people come in and they're super organized and they have a whole sheet already done. We prepare notebooks, so if you had something like that, it's always helpful for the person who is going to be the trustee or the executor.
But I think it should be so you know what you want to put in the estate. So if I said I have bank accounts, I have a trust account, I have a trading account, I have an IRA here, I have a pension there, a profit sharing, blah, blah, and a house in that state and in that state,
Right.
but so they have a list like that what assets you're dealing with.
Right. I mean, that is helpful.
Like you said, how many children, are you remarried, are you?
Names, addresses, social security numbers of all those people.
So no. Social of yourself and of your spouse, but not of the children. So the people that would have that would be the financial advisor. So those aren't in a public document. So think about this: if the trust ever gets recorded, you wouldn't want people's socials out there that were still alive. So
they get redacted. Is that what it's called?
That is what it is called, but it's.
Depends
I
on
don't
who's
put it
doing
in there for that reason.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to redact it, and you don't have to rely on the bureaucracy to maybe redact it or not.
So, who needs to? Or no. Sorry, I'm going.
What are the things that people should consider if, for instance, if they're moving from one state to another state?
Yeah.
So the interesting thing is, this is one of the biggest questions I get asked is, I moved here from, let's say, New York, and are my documents good? If you will go to different people and people will say different things, generally speaking. The way the law reads is that if it was legal and legally drafted, adhered to the laws of the state that it was drafted in, then Florida should pay attention to it and adhere to it. And
if I wanted to be super secure and feel 100%, could I bring my documents to you and you would look at them?
Yes, and I would say that is, so I was telling you just the blanket, like general statute, how it reads, what it says. But it is always good to review, and there's many reasons why it's good to review your documents over time, because we all have change. But we can definitely look at documents, tell you what needs to be changed, what adheres to the statutes, and also I always consider who would potentially challenge your document.
Oh,
so that's an interesting.
That is something to think about.
Yeah. Because there are
like an estranged family member or something like that.
Or a child that maybe one of the children that you might not have a good relationship with.
Yeah, you admit it. That happens a lot.
Let's be honest, right? That happens.
That one thing I see all the time. People say, "I'm so embarrassed, but I'm not leaving one of my kids out, but because we don't have a relationship." And I'm like, I got one in my family. I mean, I do. Right. So it's a sad thing, and it's painful to talk about, but it is not uncommon.
But is it so if someone says that, is there's certain steps they can take to prevent the challenge or to?
Yeah. I usually discuss that with like what language you would want if you were trying to admit somebody. And people admit people for various reasons. It could be that they have enough money.
Right. The other children are all set, and that child is all set, and the other two are more in need.
You have a disabled child, and
they are more in
need. So there's various reasons. So it's not always just that reason, but it is. We talked about the psychology of this in the beginning. I mean that's why I love the two that cross the legal with the psychology. It's because it's figuring out what makes a lot of sense for people in their situations, and when you've seen it over time, it helps you make better, recommendations about that too.
If I'm like, you know what, I don't want to do a whole package. I don't want to. What would you say is the bare minimum that everybody should look at doing these things? Like, you don't need a trust.
I'm not going to answer that question. That is, everybody
very
needs
personal.
a whole. No, it's like if I said the bare minimum, I mean, it would be like power of attorney or medical directive, and then I'd be like, well, no, wait, they need a trust or a will. So I probably wouldn't say there's a bare minimum. I would say if you want to do a complete package, you should do everything. I mean, medical directive may come into play, for somebody who's in their, it could be 30s, it could be 50s, it could be later in life. You just don't know. If somebody came in to me and they said, I really have no assets, and I hear that quite a bit, and then I'll talk to them about it, and then it may be for their case, they don't need a will. They don't, if there's really absolutely nothing. And that's very rare for people, but there are people who really don't have it. Not going into all the details, but in the state of Florida, we have a ladybird deed. If you owned a house, that is a deed that can transfer. You get a life estate in your property, and then when you pass, it transfers to somebody, and you name who that person is in the deed. Problem with that,
and it's just for that, for the house.
For the house, right? And then if you're just going to do a will and you're not doing the trust, so that would take care of the ladybird deed. Takes care of the house. You do a paid on death or transfer on death, what you were talking about earlier, or a beneficiary.
What were you going to say? I was going to say, what were you going to say was the problem with the ladybird?
So the one, well, there's a couple little things. They're not huge. It's better to do than to do nothing if you own a house. But you're putting a person on it. So you're naming them in a public document that's recorded. And there could be a time where somebody was suing and
so the information is public.
Yes,
in other words,
really that.
And
yes.
it's someone who doesn't have good intentions could say, I'm going to go after that, and therefore I'm going to do
they're
this
going to
thing.
lose. They're going to lose because none of the rights transfer until the person owning the house passes. So they would lose, but nobody wants to have to deal with that. Usually, if
I have a financial question that you may or may not be able to answer, so we can edit it out if we need to. But,
okay.
With a ladybird deed, if I named Christine, whoever, and what about the cost basis of the house? Is it at date of death what the house value is, or what I paid for it?
So
do you know?
So are you? Yeah. So, and it's really kind of a tax question, but the cost basis with inheriting. No, that's okay. I didn't know that. You get the basis of when you inherit the property. So
meaning at date of death, what the value of the house was. So if I bought it for $100,000 and today it's worth 500, and she inherits it through the ladybird.
Well, let's not talk about it through the ladybird. Let's talk about it just in general.
Okay.
Okay. So you put her, for you it'd be your trust, and so she inherits it. She could go out and get an appraisal. And a formal appraisal that's going to cost you somewhere minimum of $500, or you can do some. Nowadays you can go on Zillow or you could call a realtor and get them to just do a market analysis, and they'll do that for
whatever,
probably very little, and then you kind of know Zillow will give you that Zestimate, and all you have to do is be able to provide that when you inherit to the accountant, and it's a stepped up basis, which is a great thing.
What are some overlooked documents maybe that people don't think about? Are there?
So, mostly when we go through documents, some people think that there's, and some people do it differently. There's power of attorney and a medical directive that go together. Maybe sometimes that happens. There's a DNR that is do not resuscitate, which is very different than the medical directive. Lawyers don't typically do the DNR, and you have to have it on yellow paper at your house, and you got to.
What does that mean? Sorry, yellow
literally,
paper?
That's what the Department of Health.
It's
requires.
colored yellow.
Yes, so you can
find it if they need to find it.
Is it a document that's colored yellow paper?
No, you'd have to actually put it on yellow paper. Maybe some doctors' offices have it. But it just so you know the difference between if you're in really bad health, you might want the DNR, because the DNR is like on your refrigerator. It's do not resuscitate, and it's generally speaking. So I can see it for somebody who's had several heart attacks and their body can't take any getting them back. then maybe you would want that. Or there's some kind of sickness or health issue that you have that you wouldn't want that. But, you know, if you're choking and you're our age,
You want to be
you might not want
resuscitated.
you might not want to
Absolutely.
have that sticking around your house. So I usually tell people to do that later when, you know, you're
Would
older.
that be like no Heimlich maneuver?
I mean,
that a-
it's like
That's
this.
all technical?
Do you won't know. So,
If I'm choking on a chicken bone, please.
But they won't know that you don't have. If you're
Yeah.
choking on a
No,
chicken
I
bone in
know.
a restaurant, they won't know that you have a DNR. They're gonna.
well, that,
Okay.
yeah,
Do it.
Yeah, that-
Yeah, I'll make sure they do
But
it.
you're also, you
Wait,
know,
I heard her say she doesn't want to get resuscitated. So, hands off, Tina. No, that's not going to happen. They're going to resuscitate her
in a, yeah, I
in
agree.
a restaurant situation.
Yeah,
Wouldn't you
exactly.
say?
It's
Yeah.
more like your house, but that's why it's, you know, and some people do carry it around in their wallet, but
But I mean, I think
do
people
that a
think
lot.
that the worst, like say they're in a vegetative state and they don't want to get resuscitated.
Right.
Like, you know.
So that's the
we
medical
gotta-
directive.
Yeah, that's not
really-
you.
yeah,
so
that-
much.
Well, the medical directive is.
Yeah.
So the
but
medical
the
directive
DNR is not.
is like the pull the plug type of thing. It's
Okay.
like you either want artificial food and hydration or you don't want that if there's no chance of recovery.
And it should be clear among your loved
Yes.
ones so that you're not saying, Mom told me this, and you're
Right.
saying, no, Mom told me that. Like that.
Or you,
everybody-
there's one sibling that could say, "I'm not pulling the plug on
I
Mom.
can't do it."
We're not doing it."
Yeah.
I've seen that.
yeah, and that
happen.
person probably shouldn't be named, you know. I mean, that's kind of where when you're doing these documents, those are questions that you need to think about, and you know, because if somebody can't make that decision and that's what you want, probably shouldn't have them on there.
Yeah. I think we may have covered this, but I was going to say what common documents with beneficiaries should be reviewed when you retire or when you move state to state or just.
Bank, any of you went through the laundry list of the,
Yeah.
the
Like
different
IRAs and
yeah,
all that.
Accounts that you
IRAs,
might
you
have
got
that you might not think about.
annuities,
Social
brokerage
Security.
account. So that's different.
Is
Because
it?
because once you pass, then that really
It
they're,
ends.
they're very good about cutting that off.
Well, no, if you pass, doesn't if your spouse
Spouse?
is a higher earner
that's
than
true.
you, it would
You get the higher.
yours would stop and you would get the spouse's. Is there a vehicle in place to make sure that happens?
You are correct. You get the higher of the person who passed.
Are there any common mistakes that you see? Any little
yeah.
things or big things or?
Yeah, so a lot of times, and I kind of brought this up in the beginning, when a couple has each other as beneficiaries and one passes, that is I would say
Always
one of-
have a contingent.
Yeah, you should always have a contingent. But if you have a trust, which is the beauty of the trust, you just make the trust the beneficiary. So your trust could be the beneficiary of not only your bank accounts, but all your retirement assets. And then whatever's in the trust, you don't have to go call up your financial planner. I need to make a beneficiary change. It's already done in your trust.
Okay, good to know.
And so now we've done all this work. We created a trust. We did all of our healthcare procs, all of the directives, all of those things. Where should I put those documents, and how do I ensure or make sure that whoever needs to know will know where they are, what I've done when I pass?
So that's a great question.
Do I put it in the refrigerator?
Um,
Isn't that what you do?
Well, because if there's a fire, right? Everything stays okay in the fridge.
yeah.
Sorry.
I will say something kind of funny, because it's not funny, but it is. I had a person, and her son came into the office, and her house had been hit by lightning.
Oh.
And that part's not the funny
No.
part. But the son said, she needs all new documents. And I said, well, what's that? Hands me the whole notebook of her entire estate plan. The fireman went in the house and brought out her estate plan and her wallet. Everything else burned down.
Oh my God.
Wow,
And I thought, wow, good kudos for the fire department.
How
here.
did they know how to find it?
I don't know. I don't even know.
Maybe
I'm
it was
not
in
sure
the
she-
refrigerator. I'm joking.
that burned down.
I'm only joking because they say, isn't it like if you have medications, like you're supposed
Yeah.
to put it in
Well,
an
there's
envelope
the
and take it
vial
in
of
there?
life,
Yes,
whatever
the
it is
vial
in
of life.
Sumter
Yeah, yeah.
County that you put it inside your refrigerator. These things.
That's why it
because
keeps.
allegedly they're not going to burn in a fire.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah.
that's true or
But
not.
you were asking me something else though, that then I went into that.
Where should you put them?
Oh yes. So
Not the
Oh,
I had a mental moment too, or a senior
We're
moment.
all
I'm like,
like,
what was I
hey.
saying?
So a lot of people put it in a safety deposit box, and so this is why
If I
I'm saying
don't
it's a
have
really
one,
great question.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, so safety deposit box. That is a bank account. So we are probating something
You
But when
can't
I had
get
a client,
access.
yes, he told me what was in there, and we're the trustee, but because that secure safety deposit box was not in the name of the trust,
Oh, boy.
every other bank account that he had at the bank was in that, except for that. And I know what's in there, and so it has to be probated because the probate is less expensive than what he has in there, as long as.
So would you get a safety deposit box with that person's name on it, or?
So I would.
Oh no, they could access it anytime.
If you're going to do a safety deposit box, then have the trust as either the beneficiary or the trust owns the safety deposit box. If you don't do that, we make 2 notebooks. I always say to give the successor trustee the second notebook because presumably they're not in your house. So
If I don't,
did
if I
happen
don't
in your
have
house,
a trust, if I don't do a trust or have a trustee, where would I put the other document? Let's say I don't do the big packet. I don't have a trust. Where
so
would
you have
put,
a medical director?
Yeah, say if
so
you
give
have
it to the doctor.
Oh, really? Okay.
And whomever is your agent.
Okay.
It's always good to give it to the agents. A lot of times when people come in and they don't have kids, then I usually encourage them to give it to whomever they've made the agent, just because presumably that's somebody they trust pretty much in their life.
Okay.
And it'd be good for them to know that they have this responsibility.
All right. And lastly, is there anything different about estate planning in the villages than anywhere else? Or is it?
Well, I would say different states have different laws. The document that I see that you need reviewed the most here is from anything out of state is the power of attorney. And the reason being is our banks are very, very, very strict about money, whereas a medical directive, if you did it in another state, doctors tend to want to do what's in those documents. Whereas a bank is, they're talking about people's money. It's a whole different kind of thing. So, I don't know if you've experienced it ever when you're power of attorney for somebody. I mean, you get on with the cable company and your parent, and the parent has to if they don't have the power of attorney, and who's going to send it to the cable company, right? I mean, it's just there's certain things where the power of attorney is, and they're very strict about it. So I always say, Florida requires 2 witnesses and a notary on our. That's different than a lot of states. So a lot of times the banks are sticklers about that, and people have to redo those.
Okay.
All right. I think we've hit everything, unless we've missed something that we should talk about.
I'm sure there's more, but
I should go on and on. We want to make sure that you're, here with us throughout the whole show. But if you guys do have any other questions, if we've missed anything, please put it in the comments below. And if you're interested in reaching out to Amy, we're going to put her contact information in the description. And you want to give the phone number verbally right now? Your phone number for contact?
Well, I usually
or email.
352-633-9791. That's the office number.
Yeah.
I was considering doing my cell phone, but I'm
No.
they have too many followers. I was like,
good. So we'll put the phone number again, her email, and all her contact information below in case you're interested in reaching out to Amy for any more information or to actually help you with your estate planning going forward. And Tina and I want to thank you once again for listening in, and we hope you love the content that we're bringing you today. If you found anything interesting today, and hopefully you did, that's share worthy, please, you can share the link to others, and don't forget to like and subscribe. We really appreciate that. And we'll see you next time
Out on the Lanai.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.